Hello everybody, I'm Bo, and in this video I would like to tell the story of how Kingdom Hearts started as a franchise. I will go over the inspirations and early concepts of this video game series. I think it is an interesting story, which basically just kind of how Hazard happened, and I think it is funny. All my sources will be listed below, so you can check them if you are curious. Some of them are interviews and are quite interesting. In particular, the interview with Satoru Iwata, the president of Nintendo at that time, is worth checking out. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. As you may already know, Kingdom Hearts is a franchise owned by Disney and produced by Square Enix. This strange collaboration started with a meeting between Shinji Hashimoto, a game producer from Square Enix and current brand manager of Final Fantasy, and Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of Final Fantasy. They wanted to make an RPG-style game but in a three-dimensional world, similarly to Super Mario 64. Nonetheless, they were concerned because Mario is a very recognizable character with a large fan base, and they were questioning whether there is any character popular enough to compete against Mario. They arrived to the conclusion that only a Disney character would be popular enough to rival the famous Red Hat Plumber. Tetsuya Nomura, who happened to be in the same room where the discussion between Hashimoto and Sakaguchi was happening, overheard them and immediately volunteered to be involved. Apparently, both the ideas of making a 3D platformer and making a video game using Disney characters greatly interested him. Fortunately, both Disney and Square Enix had their offices in the same building at the time. Thanks to that, Hashimoto was able to pitch their idea to Disney executives when they shared an elevator ride. When they finally met with Disney to discuss the game, it seems that Disney originally thought that Square Enix would just simply make whatever they ordered them to make, and came up with rather specific requests, such as, "We'd like the game to feature this character." However, Tetsuya Nomura was not particularly interested in any of their ideas. Nomura ended up stopping the presentation and telling the Disney executives that he would not make those games. He then proceeded to explain them his primitive idea for Kingdom Hearts, all new characters going on a journey through the worlds inhabited by Disney characters. Tetsuya Nomura wanted to create a title that fits a Disney video game. The first thing that came into his mind were amusement parks, like Animal Kingdom. Thus, Kingdom was the first name selected for the title. However, Nomura was not able to get the IP just for the word Kingdom. Then, he decided to combine Kingdom with Heart, since it's a concept integral to the story. The result, Kingdom Hearts. Now, I would like to talk about the creation of Sora's model. Initially, it seems that there was some friction between the parties involved about who should be the main character. It seems that Disney wanted Mickey Mouse as a protagonist, whereas Square Enix wanted Donald Duck to have the leading role. Nonetheless, Tetsuya Nomura wanted neither of them. From the discussions, the result was a project with lots of Disney characters without focusing too much in either of one, to keep everyone happy. This is an early model of Sora, the original character that was meant to be the protagonist of this series. One of the most notable differences between this model and what later becomes Sora is the weapon. We can see that instead of the iconic Keyblade, he is carrying a chainsaw. When Tetsuya Nomura showed this to the Disney executives, he mentions that their reactions were, "What on earth is this?" and they were left speechless. The original model also seems to be a human-lion sort of hybrid. However, those lion features were also removed from the final design. I did not find any evidence for this, but I suspect that these animal features were probably motivated by the Animal Kingdom inspiration mentioned earlier. One thing that Tetsuya Nomura mentioned is that the gameplay was always kind of the same from the very beginning. Apparently, Disney's president, which at the time was Bob Iger, was very on board with everything the Square Enix team proposed. As Nomura stated, even when people around him were opposed to something, he'd say it was okay, and we'd be able to move on. Square Enix had several opportunities to speak directly to Iger, which sped up the process of making the video game. Another interesting detail is that Disney representatives did not actually see the game during the development, so it seems that Tetsuya Nomura contacted them for approval for his ideas, and then he just simply put them into the game. One surprising fact is that there were not many people familiar with the process of making RPGs when the project started. Nomura even went as far as to say that there were several moments during the development when the staff would panic and become anxious, not knowing whether the game we were making was going to be fun or not. One of the first decisions that Tetsuya Nomura made when he was working by himself at the start of the process was which Disney worlds were going to be in the game. At the beginning, he chose more than 20 worlds, including original worlds. From that selection of worlds, he and the designing team had to make a selection of the ones that finally made it into the game. The main criteria was obviously popularity and how interesting would it be to have the characters from those worlds into the game. Interestingly, Square Enix only had the rights to use Mickey Mouse in a single scene. Not only that, but the actions that Mickey Mouse was allowed to perform in the games were actually quite limited. Tetsuya Nomura explained that Disney only gave them permission to use Mickey Mouse in a role such as waving from the back of a crowd of people in town. In order to make the most out of it, Nomura decided to use Mickey Mouse in a single shot to leave the greatest impression. That's why the iconic Disney character that is constantly referred throughout the story only appears at the end. When talking about the ending, Tetsuya Nomura has stated in several occasions that he likes to leave those missing pieces in the story so that the fanbase can theorize about it. This way, even if the game gets old, people can still enjoy it. In a 2007 interview, Nomura explained that the main topic that he wanted to portray in the story of Kingdom Hearts was connections. This idea that people are connected to each other even if they are physically apart. This is definitely a very recurrent theme in Kingdom Hearts. Nomura also mentioned that the team considered the idea of simplifying the story to reduce its complexity, based on the target audience age of a Disney game. However, at that point, they already had the project set out to a certain degree. After discussing it with Sakaguchi, they concluded that in order to be a successful game, it should have the level of complexity similar to Final Fantasy. During this time, the story of the game improved significantly. Initially, characters like Ansem did not even exist, and the game was supposed to end when you defeat Maleficent. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about one of the most recognizable voices in the Kingdom Hearts franchise, Hikaru Utada. There is not very much that we actually know about how this collaboration started, or at least there is not very much that I could find. In his interview with Iwata, Nomura mentioned that he was a big fan of Utada who, although still unknown in the West, she was already a top-selling artist in Japan. Moreover, he also mentioned that he was looking for someone who could match the popularity of the Disney characters. Nomura goes as far as to say that Utada is the only artist he envisioned singing the theme song for Kingdom Hearts, since he considers Utada an icon for young artists whose music transcends national and language barriers. Nomura explained that, originally, they made her an offer without too much conviction of actually recruiting her. Surprisingly, she was interested in the idea and an agreement was reached. That was all the information I was able to find. I hope this video was interesting. Let me know what you guys think. See ya!